Welcome back. So let's go do our last video about our reactive programming with Spring and Angular. And in this video, we are going to create an Angular application, so a client application to consume that API that we just created. And so let's start. So I'm going to open the terminal. If you don't have Angular installed yet, or the Angular CLI, first of all, we need to be sure you have the node installed, so you can be sure you have it with node dash dash version. So in my case, I have the version 10. In order to use the Angular 7, you need to have at least the node version 8. So in my case, I have the Angular 10. If you want to install it, you just go to nodejs.org, just click the download button and make the installation. After that, we need to use the Angular CLI to help us to create the projects. In order to install it, you need to do the command sudo npm install -g because it's a global package at angular /CLI. You need to run this probably with an admin in your application in order to be able to execute this command. I'm not going to run it here because I have it already installed. So you run it after you just type ng version to be sure you have the latest Angular CLI installed. So with this command, let's wait a while. It's going to print the version. So in my case, I'm using the Angular CLI 7.2.1. I will just clear here. So in order to create our project, we use the Angular CLI. So just type ng new and the project name. In our case, I will call it Webflux CLI, and then you type enter. It's going to ask some questions if you'd like to add the Angular routing. In our case, no, it's a simple application. Which style sheet do you want to use? We are just using regular CSS in this case, but you can select, there's many options here. And then our project will be created, and just after that the npm install will be triggered to download all of the dependencies. This process may take few seconds or even minutes, depends the size of the application. This one is quite big, there's a lot of dependencies, so it takes a while in order to finish. Let's wait this process to be finished. Okay, the npm install finished. So now we're going to install another lib calling Angular material because it provides a really nice components and interface, a very fancy one we can use in our application to create like beautiful interface. So in order to do this, we're going to use the Angular CLI again. The new version has this ng add angular / material. So we just type it and we'll set up everything we need to use it. So we type enter, wait for a while until it, oh, I missed something. We need to get into the project root folder, so cd webflux -CLI, we need to be in our project root. Then we can add the Angular material into it. So then we type ng and add Angular material. So it is installing the package. This is going to take a while as well, since there's a lot of dependencies to be downloaded. Let's wait this to finish. Okay, so it's asking something. It contains different sort of templates. You can use even a custom one. I'm only just going to pick the standard indigo pink one. set up Hammer.js for gesture recognition. We don't really need it in our project, but anyway, I'm going to set it. And set up the browser animations to make the components looks better. So yes, I'm going to accept. Again, it's going to download all of the dependencies now. This may take a few seconds to minutes, so let's wait for this to complete. Okay, it was quite fast. One last thing we need to install is we are going to work with observables. So there's the implementation of this with the RxJS package. That is not fully compatible with Angular yet, so in order to make the Rx Java works properly with the Angular server, we need to install one package that would be uh, something to make it compatible. So you can install it with npm install rxjs dash compat and dash dash save to set this in our package.json. Again, it waits for a few instances until it completes, and after that we have everything configured as we want. As long as I don't want to type a lot of or all of the HTML files or code, I'm going to use another project that I've done it before, so we can optimize our time here in this lesson. So instead of use this project, I will use another one that I already have, and I will explain all of the code to you. So I will just change this to this project. So I have here another project, CLIEN. So I will just keep here, and I'm going to open the source code from this project I previously implemented. I'm using Sublime for it, so I just came here and opened this Webflux CLI EN. So this is our project. I needed to make changes in 4 different files. So the first one is here in the Webflux source app modules.ts, because we are using TypeScript for implementation. And the first thing we need to do is to import all of the Angular material components we are going to use in our interface. That's why I added these 4 import lines here. So we are using the material toolbar module, button module, card module, and progress bar module from this package: Angular material toolbar, button, card, and progress bar. And for each module that we imported here, we need to import in our app module definitions. So I need to add all of them here: toolbar module, mat button module, mat card module, mat progress bar module. So I have all of the components I'm going to use. Second one, Angular has something really interesting that calls environments, where we can set some environments variables. And in our case, what I want to set here is our API URL. And this is really interesting because you can create multiple environments, so we can have different URLs for different environments like dev, stage, prod, production, and so on. So I'm going to open this environment.ts, that's the standard one, and I will add this single instruction here. So I'm calling it API URL, and the API URL will be the API URL we developed in the previous videos. So HTTP localhost 88/search is our endpoint to retrieve the search data. After that, let's create the HTML file that we're going to use to make our search. So in order to do this, we have this source app component.html, and this is the code to display our to render our interface. First of all, I'm using a toolbar to create like a title bar at the top and with the string search. After that, just break a line, make the, the text to align in center, and then just create a button that is going to trigger our search and is going to make the call to our API. So I'm using the Angular material as well. Even though here is a button, it's a regular HTML button, I'm going to add the matte raised button to apply some CSS and styles to this button. I'll set the color to primary, so it's a predefined color provided by Angular material. I'm using this Angular event click, so when I click this button, the search method that we're going to implement next will be called. We are providing this event. It's the JavaScript browser's event. We are going to use it for something else I'll explain. And I want to set this disabled show progress bar. So this progress bar will be a flag that we have in our component, and basically during the search I want to display a progress bar to show that the search is still in progress, and by the time the search will be in progress I want to disable this button to avoid like multiple click and to trigger the same search again and again. After that, we need to set up our progress bar. So we wrap our progress bar. So this is our progress bar with the Angular material. So we're basically setting or adding here a matte progress bar, color primary, it's like a blue color. Mode indeterminate is like just a loading bar without any uh, percentage or nothing. It's just an indeterminate progress bar. And we also add this directive here, ngIf, provided by Angular, to display or not this progress bar. So when we trigger this search button, this show progress bar will be set to true. So we are going to display this progress bar and disable the button. And when we finish with this search, we will set this show progress bar to false. So we're going to hide this progress bar and enable the search again to be searched if you want. And the last block here is to display the data we are going to get. So I'm just print a bar to split our search results. In order to display the results, I'm going to use another material component called math card. So we are adding this math card, just displaying the result. This result will be the string we are returning from the server. That's basically for each entry we will have the price and the supplier's name. And in order to render this, we're going to use another directive from Angular called ng4. That is going to iterate to our results and display all of them are rendered in the browser. Our ng4 will consist of this let result of results observer pipe async. So what we're doing here, this pipe async is extremely important because we are going to use event streams. So we are going to get the data as long as it comes from the server, and this async pipe basically is going to subscribe to this observable, and as long as we get any new data we iterate and update automatically the our results and to be shown customer's browser. So basically this async filter that we have here, it means that this met card will be linked to an observable and we will keep listening to it until it completes. So this will be our interface, quite simple. Last, we need to implement our component that will be responsible to make the call to our API and get the results to be displayed in the screen. So we're going to open this source app component.js. This is the complete file. Basically, we need to add some imports here. So we are going to include this ng zone. I will explain what it is. Observable and observer from packages rxjava observable rxjava observer, and our environment to get the API URL from environments/environment. After that, this is default, was here already. We are going to create a flag to track if we ended or not the search, so it's called end search type boolean. Do remember that attribute we created there, that flags that shows or hides the progress bar. So we are going to create this attribute here as show progress bar type boolean. Our results, that's going to store all of the data that comes from the server, so it's an array of strings. We just initialize it with an empty array. And our observable, that's extremely important because this observable, this object will be the one that will be responsible to track or keep listening to the response from the server. So its type is observable and will be an array of strings. In our constructor, we just inject one instance of this ng zone that will be injected by the Angular, and then we can create our search method. So this search method is exactly this one, the HTML that's called by the button when we trigger the search. It receives that event. So we use these events to call this prevent default only to avoid any form submission. We don't want any different behavior that the HTML could have, so we only need to disable any behavior from this button. When I click this button, I only want that nothing happens. We just process my code. So we are going to start the search. So first thing is to show the progress bar. That's why I set it to true. And search, we set it to false because we are to start our search now, so we didn't finish yet. And then we initialize our results with an empty array. We set it here again because for every search we want to be sure that we are initializing our results with an empty list. And we create our results observer that will be tracked by the async pipe in our HTML file. In order to create this observable, I created here a new method called create EventSource Observer, and it's what we're going to call here. So this results observer is getting a new observable from this method that we are implementing next. So this create event source observer is the method responsible to get the information or to make the request to our server. Basically, it returns a new observer that contains an array of strings, and for this observer we get this observer from as a parameter. And how we're going to make this call? in order to make this call, we are going to use something called EventSource. So EventSource is something built in the browsers that allows us to make a call like an event-based call to a server. It is similar to WebSockets. The main difference is that the EventSource is only one channel, is only a single channel, so it is only expected the response from the server. When if we think about the WebSockets, would be a dual channel, so we could even send events to the server. But to make the things simple, and the event source is even the one that fits better in this case, because we don't want to send an event to the server, we only want to get data from there. So we don't need to care about implementing the web sockets. What would be slightly harder, because we would need to use some external lib as of socket IO and whatever, so it's not what we want here. In order to use the event source, we only need to do this. So we get an instance of this event source because we create an instance of it. So new event source, and we provide the URL, the API URL we want to make a call. And this source we need to implement or to provide some methods. There would be the event source listener, and one really important is, or the most important maybe, is the on message. As the name suggests, this method is going to be called every time we get a message or an event or notification from server. So it provides to us this event. In this case, I'm just doing this console.log event data just to print in the console the data that the service sent to us. And then every time we get a new message, we just call these results push event.data. So here in event.data is exactly that string that we were going to get from the server with the price and the supplier's name. So we add this to our results array. We are calling the results sort because we want to display the lowest price first. So if we get new results that are with a better price, we sort and set into the top to be displayed. And we need to provide something to tell Angular to re-render the our HTML, our interface. And in order to do this, we need to make use of this ngZone. Is a resource that Angular uses to control the updates for async operations. So we need to call this ngZone, the service that we just injected here in the constructor, dot run, and then we say observer dot next result. So this observer, remember that I said that this pipe async is going to subscribe to our observable. So every time we call observer next, we are notifying our interface that we have new results added to the list. So Angular needs to re-render the interface and display these new results. So this is basically what this line is doing. After that, we need to track if when the search finished. So in order to do this, we use another event from the event source called onOpen, and then basically we make this code. So if end search, in our calls it will be false. So we close the event source and the processing will be done. And we just closed our event source, but we need to notify Angular or the observable that we are done with our search. That's why we call this end zone again with the run, and then this time instead of just say observer next, we just say observer complete. We're just telling Angular that, or propagating the event to the observer that our search is completed. We don't need to listen to this observer or to this event source anymore. And then we just set our show progress bar to false because we finished with our processing, so we can hide the progress bar, finish our request, and display the search button again. Otherwise, we just end search, set it to true. That's the code to make our interface, our Angular, to work. It's quite simple. There's some concepts behind the observables, so it's important that you keep in mind or have some idea how observables work or reactive programming works. And then after that we can run this application, see what's happening. So returning here to the terminal in our project, you can just type npm start and wait for the application to start. So basically we are going to start a new server. By default will be the port 4200. So we need to wait a while because we need to compile the code once we are writing it in TypeScript. So the process of building and start the application means that we need to compile this TypeScript into JavaScript code, and Angular use a lot of optimizations on the files to optimize the size, the final size of our application. So we just need to wait for this to complete. So here all of the compilation process has finished. So you see the files, optimize it, and it says here open your browser on localhost 4200. So we can go to the browser, new tab, localhost 4200. Then we'll be able to see our application. So it's loading here first time. So our title bar with search, our button, no search, no progress bar, and when I click the search book it will be disabled and the progress bar will be shown and the results will start to being displayed here. So let's do it. So you can see it finished, so the progress bar disappeared, the search button is enabled again, and then here we can see all of the list with the price ordered by the lowest one. If we open the inspect or the dev console and click here in console, we will see that we have that console.log with the event data, and these are all of the response we get from the server. So this is a different order because here is as we got it, and here are the sorted ones. So if I type search again, you can see the events here popping up and being displayed. So with it we completed our series of videos with this introduction to reactive programming with Spring Webflux and Angular. Hope you enjoyed and see you in the next lesson.